Okay, so think about this for a second. Our planet is just teeming with life. Millions and millions of different living things, from tiny little bacteria to massive redwood trees. So how on earth do you even start to organize all that? Well, today we're going to explore the really elegant system that finally brought some order to the beautiful chaos of life.
To really get what the problem was, let's just start with a simple question. Take a look at a mushroom. Is it a plant? I mean, it grows in the ground, so maybe. Is it an animal? Definitely not. But wait, it doesn't make its own food from sunlight like a plant does. So what is it? This exact kind of puzzle stumped scientists for centuries. So the first big swing at creating a map for all of life came from the legendary Carolus Linnaeus. And his approach, it was super straightforward, but for its time, it was an absolute game changer. He basically decided to create two big boxes to sort everything into. And there they are. You had Kingdom Plantae for the plants and Kingdom Animalia for the animals. Simple, right? The rule was easy. If it was green and seemed to make its own food, boom, it's a plant. If it moved around and ate other stuff, you got yourself an animal. And look, this system lasted for a very, very long time. But it had some pretty major blind spots. See, as our tools got better, think microscopes and things like that, we started seeing the world in a whole new level of detail. And suddenly, those two little boxes, they started feeling, well, pretty cramped. The old map of life just wasn't cutting it anymore, and you could really start to see the cracks forming. And this is where things really started to get messy. All of a sudden, you had this whole crew of misfits. You've got bacteria, they're microscopic. Where do they go? You've got fungi, like our mushroom friend, who clearly don't fit the plant mold. And what about all those little single-celled things swimming around in a drop of pond water? Trying to force them into either the plant or animal box just caused a whole lot of confusion. And here's the real kicker. The old system was ignoring some of the most fundamental things about life itself. It made no distinction between organisms with a super simple cell structure, the prokaryotes, and those with a complex one, the eukaryotes. It just lumped single-celled and multi-celled life all together. It was basically sorting by looks, not by the nitty-gritty of how these things actually lived. A new system was desperately needed. And that's where our hero enters the story, an ecologist named R.H. Whitaker. In 1969, he looked at this whole mess, all this confusion, and proposed an absolutely brilliant new map of life, one that actually had room for everyone. Now, to really appreciate what Whitaker did, you gotta get the context here. I mean, that two-kingdom system had been the standard for centuries. So what Whitaker proposed wasn't just some minor update. Oh no, it was a complete revolution, a total paradigm shift that kicked off a brand new era for how we classify all living things. So how'd he do it? Well, his logic was just so beautifully elegant. He used three key criteria to sort all of life. First, he asked, what's the cell structure like? Is it simple, a prokaryote, or complex, a eukaryote? Second, how's the body organized? Is it just one cell, or is it made of many? And third, how does it get its food? Does it make its own, or does it have to eat other things? Using that simple logic, Whitaker created his 5 kingdoms. So come on, let's take a quick tour through this new and way more accurate map of the living world. First stop on our tour, Kingdom Monera. This is where he put all the prokaryotes. These are the bacteria, those microscopic organisms that are, and I mean this literally everywhere on Earth, from the top of mountains to the very bottom of the sea. The main feature here is that they're prokaryotic. Their cells have no nucleus. They're all single-celled, they have a sturdy cell wall, and they get their energy in a huge variety of ways. Some can make it themselves, and others consume it. Okay, next up we've got Kingdom Protista. This is the kingdom for all the single-celled organisms that have a complex eukaryotic cell, one with a proper nucleus inside. It's kind of known as the catch-all kingdom because it's home to a hugely diverse bunch of life. So what brings them all together? They're all eukaryotes, and they're almost all unicellular. This is where you find things like amoebas, algae, and even those weird slime molds. Many of them even have these little whip-like tails or tiny hairs called flagella and cilia to help them swim around. Ah, and here we are, Kingdom Fungi. Finally, a proper home for our mushroom. This kingdom includes everything from the yeast that makes bread rise to molds, and of course, mushrooms. They are their own completely distinct form of life. So what makes a fungus a fungus? Well, for one, they're heterotrophs, but unlike animals, they absorb their nutrients from whatever they're growing on. Their cell walls are made of a tough substance called chitin. Get this, it's the same material in an insect's exoskeleton, not cellulose like plants. And their bodies are made of this whole web of tiny threads called hyphae. Now we come to a familiar name, kingdom Plantae. But in Whitaker's system, the definition got a serious upgrade. It's not just things that are green anymore. It's the kingdom of multicellular, eukaryotic life that makes its own food. So, the crucial points are these. Plants are complex and multicellular. They're autotrophs that get their energy from the sun through photosynthesis, and their cell walls are made of cellulose. This is what truly defines a plant. And finally, we have kingdom Animalia. Hey, that's our kingdom. These are the multicellular eukaryotes that get their energy by eating other organisms and, this is super important, they do not have a cell wall. So the essentials for animals are pretty straightforward. They're complex and multicellular, they're heterotrophs that actually ingest their food, and that lack of a cell wall is what gives them the flexibility for movement. It makes sense, right? Most animals, after all, can move around. So, after that whirlwind tour, you can probably see how this new five-kingdom map provided a much clearer, much more logical, and just way more accurate picture of the entire tree of life. You know, this table right here just lays it all out so clearly. You can just scan across the rows and immediately see the key differences. Check it out. Monera is the only prokaryote. Then, fungi, plantae, and animalia are all multicellular eukaryotes, sure, but they're separated by their cell wall material and how they get nutrition. It's just an incredibly elegant summary. And that really gets to the heart of it all. Whitaker's system just worked. It solved the problem. It gave every single organism a logical place to belong. The source text puts it perfectly. It eradicated the confusion. No more trying to decide if a fungus was just a weird plant or if bacteria belonged with animals. The confusion was over. But here's the final, fascinating thought to leave you with. As fantastic as Whitaker's map was, it wasn't the final word. Science never stops exploring. It's always refining. We've since learned that kingdom Monera is actually two vastly different groups of life, called archaea and bacteria. So you see, the map of life is still being redrawn today, which just makes you wonder, what's that map going to look like in another 50 years?